But this guy looks like he could be Russia's next super freak.
In 2021, the YouTube channel True Power released a video about Andrei Smaev, a young Russian who at just 22 was supporting his family by working in a factory while just training on the side for fun. But Andrei wasn't just some ordinary guy. Standing at 6'5" and weighing 120 kilos with visible abs, he was doing pull-ups with over 100 kilos strapped to his body. And this was the moment he started blowing up on social media. Andrei kind of reminds me of a real-life Ivan Drago from the Rocky series, if Drago had been pumped full of uranium and spent most of his life inside of a cave with his only source of entertainment being a set of dumbbells. Growing up in a small town in Russia, Andrei started training at a pretty young age, but the first footage we have of him in the gym is from 17, and even then he was already squatting over 200 kilos and benching 180 kilos for reps. Based on this insane progression, it is safe he hadn't been lifting for very long, probably starting around 15 or 16, and at just 17 he was deadlifting 260 kilos for reps, and he actually claimed to be natural at the time, which I could believe given how much he grew the following year. By age 18 he was curling 70 kilos with ease, and by the end of that same year he was curling 100 kilos and benching 200 for reps. However, despite his very promising start, Andrei's training would stagnate during his early 20s. He would take long breaks from the gym and systematic training, and extended periods of time just away from lifting. In fact, in that video from True Power, he had just returned from a 1-month break after the birth of his daughter, during which he was only training at home with hand grippers. Yet, even after that hiatus, he was still a phenomenal athlete, doing weighted pull-ups with over 100 kilos strapped to his body. He actually mentioned in that interview that most of his training took place outdoors, doing pull-ups and dips, even in the brutal Russian winters where temperatures dropped to minus 40 degrees Celsius. Imagine that this guy was just out there with some rusty kettlebells that were gifted to him by a caretaker who worked at the university he studied at. What a chat. These videos were the start of Andrei's rise to fame. He quickly gained popularity in the strength community, particularly in arm wrestling, with legends like Devin Larratt and Denis Suplenkov taking notice. Devin even suggested that Andrei could actually be the next superhuman strength freak out of Russia. Fast forward to 2024 and Andrei Smaev is more popular than ever, especially on TikTok, where his insane physique and athleticism has caught everyone's attention. And just to remind you, both Andrei and I were actually born in 1999. Yet, look at how this guy compares to me. Not only does he look like somebody in their mid-40s, but his strength and proportions have reached a ridiculous level. His biceps measure a staggering 62 centimeters, and his forearms are an unbelievable 57 centimeters, bigger than almost every top-level bodybuilder, and even outclassing the forearms like Denis Suplenkov and American arm wrestling giant Cleve Dean. Recently, Andrei actually hit a bench press PR of 301 kilos, or at least that's the heaviest I could find of him without a spotter constantly hovering over the bar. He's also done some crazy high rep sets, like benching 205 kilos for 25 reps and 270 kilos for 4, putting him up there amongst the most elite level bench pressers of all time. It is worth noting, however, that Andrei does use elbow reps, which do provide some assistance, so it's unclear how he'd perform in an actual powerlifting meet. But at a massive 150 kilos, he would undeniably be very competitive in the untested powerlifting world. But here's the crazy part. Bench press isn't even Andrei's strongest lift. In fact, throughout most of his training, he didn't actually focus that much on benching. Instead, he preferred doing weighted dips, only using the bench press to estimate his upper body strength. And it's only recently that he started pushing for a true 1-rep max. His strongest lift is probably the weighted pull-up. He's been recorded doing reps with 150 kilos strapped to his body, beating the current world record by over 20 kilos. And that's for reps in training. Now, while his form might not be up to the strict competition standards, there's little doubt that his pulling strength could actually make him one of the strongest in the world, even at bodyweight exercises. More recently, though, there's been a lot of buzz about Andrei moving into competitive arm wrestling, and his numbers in arm wrestling specific lifts are some of the best ever recorded. However, despite all of the hype, Andrei is still very technically inexperienced in arm wrestling. He's never competed or even trained very seriously for the sport, as pointed out by some of the top-level arm wrestlers in the world. According to Levon Saginashvili, one of, if not the best arm wrestler right now, Andrei is too nice to be a top-level competitor.
По-человечески он мне очень нравится как человек. В плане армрестлинга не думаю, что он сможет бороться. У него еще есть один проблема, это то, что он слишком добрый.
Because he relies solely on his brute strength rather than exploiting his opponent's weaknesses and techniques, which puts him at a massive disadvantage in competitions, where outmuscling every opponent simply isn't realistic. That does not mean he is not trying though. Recently, he has posted even crazier lifts, like curling a 100-kilo dumbbell and doing reverse curls with over 100 kilos for absurdly high reps. And despite his massive size, he is not out of shape. He even attempted human flat pull-ups, and at his massive weight, I don't think I've seen a heavier person ever try to do that somewhat successfully. And he is also really good at jumping, as he's documented a broad jump well over 3 meters. Andrei Smaev just seems to keep getting stronger, but I do sincerely hope that he's keeping an eye on his health, because it's likely that the path to his incredible size and strength hasn't been the mildest, and the toll on his body will definitely become evident in the years to come. But for now, Andrei Smaev remains one of the strongest lifters in the world, especially at bodyweight movements, and I'm confident that we'll see much more from this behemoth soon enough. And maybe we'll even see him go for some official world records. Thank you guys.